Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. Let's head on down to Orlando, Florida. That's where we can find Michael Cauble of Channel 2. Cauble, can you expense a trip to Disney World? You at Epcot, Magic Kingdom, they just write that off? Is that in the contract?
I'm not sure I'd be able to expense that one. I can try. That'd be interesting. See if they'd let me pull it off. But yeah, I don't think there's a lot of research going on there at the old Magic Kingdom today.
Are you Disney World guy?
Oh, I am Disney World guy. Yeah, haven't been as much lately just because it's so dang expensive. But
Yep.
yeah, no, I like to sneak in and visit whenever we can. Went and had dinner last night over at the Polynesian. So
Oh, really?
got close to it, but couldn't go to the parks now.
I want to say that's where my family stayed when I went in third grade. Is that the one that's got kind of a log cabin feel to it a little bit?
That would be the Wilderness Lodge,
Okay, I
which is
can't remember.
also
That was
another
20 years ago.
great venue. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some football. You see any purple and gold around?
A couple, not a lot, literally like a couple, 2 or 3. But we got here yesterday. One of the families from Baton Rouge flew down to the game with us. I guess they're like 19 out of New Orleans. We're going all the way to Orlando. I know that because our flight got delayed, and they told us that the 19 people that were going there would make their flight. So, yeah, I expect them all to be coming today or tomorrow morning. You know, with the kick on Sunday, it gives them the extra opportunity, I guess, to work the week out and then come on Saturday morning, which I know some of my friends are doing.
So I'm fascinated by this. When I thought of Brian Kelly when he was at Notre Dame, I thought of a kind of maybe arrogant, kind of brash, unpleasant,
Stuffed
just
shirt.
yelling. Yeah, and he's down here for 2 years. He's just made joke after joke. I mean, have you picked up on this, and what do you make of it?
No, like I had the exact same perception of him from his time at Notre Dame and dealing with him, actually, interestingly enough, at the bowl games here in Florida.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just thought he was kind of a jerk, right? Like just a pompous jerk, keeping it clean. So I felt like we were going to get some of that when he got here, but he really hasn't. He's been relatable. When I've talked to him, you know, just on the side, he's been great. And he's not going to like hang out with you and, you know, go to the fish fry. But like he's definitely a lot more relatable and a lot more relaxed than my vision of him when he was at Notre Dame.
What do you make of the attitude of the team? Do you think there's a revenge factor here?
You know, I was thinking about that today. I always think there is. I always think there's like, this team got the best of us. We know they shouldn't have. And then I think back to, it's been a long year for these guys, and they probably had a lot of growth. And I don't know that any one game motivates them more than others, outside of like the marquee games, you know. So this is a marquee game. It's going to get their attention because it's the big game. But I also was thinking today that, you know, you always wonder, kind of like Saban said, you make an A on your first test, you can make a C on the next one. Does that human quotient of like, if we lose early in the year, it's not as big a deal as if we lose later in the year. So does this game have as much, you know, have to win to them as we would expect it to? You know, you feel like every game is important. They understand that. They're not going to try any harder or less. And being reasonable people, we can understand that idea. But yeah, I would think, just knowing that they gave it away last year, and like Jaden said earlier this week, you know, we saw all the mistakes that we made in that game, and it hurts to see them, you know, that they'll have that in mind. But Florida State's the same way. They've got a lot to play for. This is their chance to really say last year wasn't a fluke. We deserve to be mentioned with LSU now. We haven't been in the past, but, you know, we're as competitive as they are. We beat them last year. If we beat them again this year, it really validates what we're doing down here.
We have seen LSU now lose 3 consecutive openers and just some really sloppy play at times. And we watched Florida last night, and they were incredibly sloppy in a game 1. These two teams are old. They have veteran quarterbacks. Do you think we'll see a clean week 1 game from these two games, or is it still going to look kind of clunky?
I think you're going to have your moments, but I don't think it'll be anything like last night. I think the talent just rises, you know, when you talk about these two teams. And as you said, you know, the experience level, and everybody at LSU has a better understanding of what's expected of them, you know, every time they go out there now. And I feel like that alone, coupled with the game reps that they got last year in successful games, and even in some unsuccessful games, They're just that much better. I think, again, both of these teams have playoff aspirations. So I think you're going to see maybe not, the fine-tuned machine that we'll see in November, but far cries from what we saw last year in the Superdome.
I have not been to that stadium. You have. Is it big enough that crowd noise could make a difference on Sunday?
I don't think so. It's not a on top of you crowd. There's some space there. It says like 65,000, I think, is what it holds. It's a fine stadium. It's not great by any stretch of the imagination, but it's also not terrible. It's not Little Rock, Arkansas. So like, there's I think it's nice, right? Like, but I don't know that noise is going to be an issue. That's actually what I'm talking about tonight with what Brian Kelly talked about yesterday. Just the idea that, they can prepare for it. But again, I think that kind of comes back to the veteran aspect of these teams. I do expect there to be a lot of Florida State fans, either looking to get away or get on board with one of the premier teams in the state right now. Because certainly Florida Gators, aren't holding up their end of the deal anymore. And who knows where Miami's at, right?
They were 5-7 last year, so it's not great.
So it's I feel like this is their chance. UCF just played last night here in town, and they have a huge following. Obviously, Gus has got it heading in the right direction. So there's a lot of football fans, I think, in this part of the state that might just go just to watch the game as well.
How badly are they going to miss Mason Smith?
I think the cornerbacks are going to miss him. The secondary is going to miss him. That pass rush could really help out what I expect to be a struggling secondary, and a secondary that has to figure it out through the first 4 games of the season. And will probably look very different in those first 4 games of the season. How much do they miss him specifically? I don't know, because I don't feel like I have a good handle on what Mason Smith is.
Yeah,
I think you were talking about it earlier in the week. We saw him some, and then we saw him for 6 snaps. So it's like how much of this guy is urban legend and how much of it is actual production. You'd love to have the guy, but I would trade Mason Smith for a veteran corner right now, at the drop of a hat, just so you felt better about one side of the field. Because I think it's going to be, look, if Deuce Chestnut gets out there, he played against Florida State last year at Syracuse and, had some success. But again, I think, it's going to be a learning curve for some guys in this system getting up to speed.
As far as the offense goes, LSU's running backs didn't do anything against Florida State last year. Jaden Daniels pretty much had to do it all on the ground. How do you think that rotation works? We got an injury update last night on Josh Williams that he's probable for the game, but is still a little bit banged up. What do you think at running back?
I'm not holding my hopes or my breath out for Josh Williams to be an impact player early in the season. If they're bringing him along this slowly, which we've seen at practice, then I feel like there's something significant there, that they're really monitoring. And so I don't know how many touches he's going to get tomorrow, but you cannot compare it to last year, right? When you think about what that offensive line and the wreck that it was in that ball game, and Jaden having to make something happen, I think it'll be different this year. I think you're going to see Noah Kane, obviously. I'll be interested to see how much Diggs you see. I think you're going to see some Caleb Jackson. I said it earlier in the week. I feel like he's a guy that you can point in the direction and accomplish what you want. Yes, he may be young and he may not know all the blocking schemes and pass productions, but I feel like if you get him in the right situation, he has a potential to be a game changer, or at least a game breaker where he could, really do something significant. So I'm looking for him to get some touches. Outside of that, though, I don't know. I think they're going to try to keep him honest. They're going to set up the run really, I think, with the pass this year. I just feel like they're going to move the ball around. It's going to be a lot of stuff, quick and underneath, and then, try to take the top off of them when they can, because they have those guys. And as the field shrinks, I think it actually goes to LSU's advantage, because you really do have some playmakers that can go up and get the ball. Kamorian Pimpton, right? Are we going to see him Sunday? Like, there's a guy, you get in the 20, and end, and then you feel like you have a really good shot. And, yeah, it may be a little personnel giveaway that they know what's coming, but again, if you can't stop it, you can't stop it. We saw Jimmy Graham, 100 years old, just do it, this past weekend.
6'6" was always 6'6". That's the concern with Johnny Wilson at Florida State, and Pimpton brings that element as well. As far as pass catchers go, beyond Malik Neighbors, it's Thomas and it's Hilton and it's Aaron Anderson and obviously the freshman as well, and then there's Kyron Lacey. What do you like at wide receiver after Malik Neighbors?
I think Kyron Lacey has the potential to have a really good year.
Yeah.
I really do. I just feel like he's going to get a lot of off coverage because they're going to be paying attention. I still think Mason Taylor is going to be an absolute, like, I would load up on him on fantasy points if I could. I just feel like he's a guy that is ripe for a breakout, usage type season, just because of all the different looks that LSU can throw at them. And he's, versatile enough to block and catch. Now, some of them, like I said, they're going to be tells as far as personnel with the tight end packages that they're running. But I was super impressed with Mason last year, and nothing I saw in practice this year. That dude was just going up and getting them all.
Yeah. Like
bad balls, like he just still has such a huge catch radius that I feel like it's ridiculous not to try him. So that's who I'm looking for. Kyron and Mason to really benefit from Malik's pub, I guess.
All right. How do you think it goes on Sunday night?
Man, I feel like it's a coin flip. I picked LSU. I think it was 31-27. But I would not be surprised if this thing went the other way. I just think it really depends on LSU's secondary and how well does Major Burns set it up. Some of the things they were doing with him, having him play close to the line. Greg Brooks being out, with the vertigo for early portion of practice, new corners. Sage Ryan, banged up. I just feel like you're asking a lot of a group that doesn't have a lot of time on task.
For sure. What do y'all got coming up on Channel 2? Obviously, the game's on y'all's airwaves.
Yeah, we're doing a 1-hour pregame kickoff. So from 5:30 to 6:30, Matt Trent and I will be in the stadium bringing you, all the coverage that you can handle leading up to this one. Kind of recapping the build up to the year from the LSU side. We'll take a little bit of look at the Florida State stuff, here from Mike Norvell. But just pushing towards this thing. I mean, the game is so big and such a great matchup that I think even non-LSU, FSU fans are dialed in for this one. They know what's coming. They know it's the best game this weekend, and they're excited to see it.
Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.